This is one of your main.
We don't have enough square footage in there. We're housing approximately 40 prisoners per day over there. And new jail standards, they've got to have 60 foot of cell space, and we just don't have that kind of space. If we were complying, we could only house 13 prisoners in there.
The McLoud Correctional Center is home for 365 minimum security inmates. The Spalding facility is unique. It's the Corrections Department's largest farm operation. The McLoud prison is also unique in another way. It produces its own fuel to fire its heating system. Inmates chop down the oaks and hickories on the 5,000-acre campus. For 21 years, the trees have been felled to feed a dinosaur. This double boiler provides hot water and steam for much of the prison. The heating system has been very economical. There's only one problem. McLoud is running out of trees. The dinosaur eats 4 to 5 cords of wood a day, even more in cold weather. At that rate, prison officials predict they'll run out of trees sometime next year. They'll have to convert the system to either natural gas or some other fuel. That conversion could stretch the already thin prison budget.
This year, between the overcrowding numbers that we have and the space that we'll need, everything is going to be very tight. But we have to provide the basics, and part of the basics is hot water and heat, and so we'll have to do something, I guess.
Meacham has asked the legislature for $88,000 to complete the conversion. After all, no one wants to feed a dinosaur. Scott Wallace, Action 4 at the McLoud Correctional Center.
Things are pretty quiet at Will Rogers World Airport on a typical Sunday afternoon, but the airlines are gearing up for the Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday weekends, which are traditionally high traffic times for air travel. The airlines say they can expect their planes to be 90% full or better for the holidays. That, plus the fact that more airlines fly through Will Rogers this year than last, can add up to holiday savings for some Oklahoma City travelers.
Generally, by and large, when you have a holiday period, your loads are up into the 90%, and generally you can make money off of operating a low-cost fare.
The airlines say the main issue is competition. In a heavy traffic area, competition dictates lower fares. The people traveling to areas with less traffic usually have to make up the difference. Oklahoma City may see an increase in fares soon, too. Some of the larger airlines say they provide services that the commuter airlines don't provide, and they think the travelers that want those services are willing to pay for them. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4 at Will Rogers World Airport.
A small caravan of vehicles drives through a rainy Nebraska night. This is the most critical part of the rescue. If anything happens, a speeding ticket, a flat tire, it could give Jackie a chance to alert authorities. And it's possible the way is already looking for its member. That worries Carla Pfeiffer the most. She claims their information gathering network is as sophisticated as any government agency. These operations raise definite legal questions, ones which religious cults like the Way repeatedly point out. But there are also moral considerations for the families.
It's a farce of justice that law enforcement officials in some cases let people get away with it. It's nothing but kidnapping.
We had researched the qualifications of the individuals that we chose, and I am never more convinced in my life that I was doing something right than at the moment when we actually did it, and I will never regret having done it.
I could not have left if it weren't for my parents kidnapping me. Not that I wanted to be there, but I really could not have left.
Program, and what they put him through, well, my gosh, if we ever did anything like that in the Way ministry, they'd nail our hides to the door.
Jackie is brought Carla Pfeiffer is one of just a handful of people in this country engaged in this unique profession. She's been all over this country, Canada, even Europe. Her client this time, Jackie Witt, a 22-year-old Nebraska schoolteacher who has been involved with the Way International for about a year. These are operations which raise very definite legal and moral questions. But it's a step some parents feel they must take.
Maybe today it'll show something. Carla says this is a day that it gets tougher.
Other people try to legislate what you think by throwing you in a room and tying you up and throwing all kinds of arguments at you and starving you emotionally and physically. Oh, it's just not right.
Tomorrow at 5:30, you'll see the deprogramming of Jackie Witt.
It used to be pool and pinball machines, but then American teenagers turned to video games. Pac-Man, Space Invaders, and Donkey Kong have become as American as apple pie.
Well, I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. It helps out your eye-hand coordination, I feel. Except I died again.
But now the Surgeon General says these games are zapping the players. Edward Koop says they're just too violent. The object of most games is to destroy as quickly as possible. Koop says the games make kids too ready to accept aggressive behavior. And that's not all. The Surgeon General says the games cause tension and sleeplessness. But psychologists point out Koop has no statistical evidence to support his claim.
It sounds like this is his opinion, and until there'd be more evidence, more research to really show that there is a cause and effect, I would hesitate to make that blanket statement. Video games can also be educational. They can be a lot of fun. They certainly call for eye-hand coordination.
It's not just psychologists. The people who make the games might just be angry enough at the Surgeon General to give these kids a new challenge. A new game with a catchy name, like Fly the Coop. Bill Ross, Action 4.
Workers for the Caston Lumber Company were rebuilding a structure that had burned in September. High winds were causing the wood frame to sway, and the men were trying to tie the building to another permanent one when the pressure of the wind caused the frame to give way. 6 men, 4 working for Caston, 2 electrical men, were inside at the time of the collapse.
It looks like a couple of the men are probably injured seriously, not critical. Several of them, like I say, we do have a lot of broken arms and legs, and several lacerations and bruises, that type of thing.
One man was trapped in the debris, and rescuers spent about 30 minutes trying to free him. 3 of the men have been taken to Baptist Hospital. The rest were taken to Presbyterian.
Right there.
The injured men were working on a construction site at the Caston Lumber Company, rebuilding a structure that had been destroyed by fire in September and trying to secure it against the winds. 4 of the men were Caston employees. The others were doing electrical wiring.
Taking a head count, make sure all everybody's accounted for.
At first, rescuers were unsure how many men had been inside the frame when the wind blew it down, but the final tally was 6 men taken to the hospital.
It looks like a couple of the men are probably injured seriously, not critical. Several of them, like I say, we do have a lot of broken arms and legs, and several lacerations and bruises, that type of thing.
1 man was trapped in the debris for about half an hour before rescuers were able to free him. The other men were injured, but within easy access. The reports from the hospitals were more optimistic than the initial reports from emergency crews at the scene. 4 of the men had been treated and released for their injuries by early afternoon. The 2 other men were both in hospitals in good condition with leg injuries. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4 at the Caston Lumber Company.
First of all, tornadoes. Oklahoma is located right in the middle of Tornado Alley. Numerous storms have touched down here. Hundreds of people have lost their lives. We'll take a look at the 5 deadliest tornadoes ever to hit the state. There have been other visitors to the state in the way of presidential visits. 11 presidents have come to Oklahoma beginning in 1874 up to the present. It's a fascinating recollection of the chief executives and why they came here. Who can mention Oklahoma and not think of Indians? Their struggle has been a hard one. We'll visit with an Indian family trying to make it in today's society. We'll also give you a quiz on Oklahoma trivia. For example, did you know that the shopping cart was invented right here in Oklahoma City? I don't want to give the rest of the series away. Just join me for the Newsbreaker series, Face of the State, starting Monday. Bella Shaw, Action 4.
Basically, our goal is to be as rapidly responsive to the community as we can. That's been our goal for a number of years with this department. It's one we strive for continually. The other is to humanize ourselves with respect to the community. That is to let them know that we are, in fact, members of the community. The only thing that separates us from them is the fact that when a situation has degenerated to the point that the individual members of the community are unable to cope with it, unable to handle it, at that point they call on us.
We've been looking for some way for a number of years to rescue people under an emergency situation, and we finally found an inexpensive way, as well as a very capable way, I believe, to fulfill the needs of our city. We have incidents happen from time to time where that we could use something just like this.
Truman 50-Year Center has been a battle zone this school year. Last month, 18 families alleged their children had been strip searched in the school cafeteria. The school personnel denies those allegations, but the families took legal action. The families threatened to sue the school district if the school board did not meet 3 demands. The families wanted the board to retain a child psychologist for the children involved in the search. They wanted the board to transfer the school personnel alleged in the case. And they wanted provisions to be made to stop further searches. Last night, the board agreed to 1 of the 3 demands.
Specific action will be, in addition to beginning an evaluation of the principal, will also be to recommend changes in the present policy and recommend changes in the present regulations to try to assure ourselves and the community that another occurrence of the nature which did occur there might happen elsewhere.
But that's not good enough, according to Stephen Dobbs. Dobbs represents the families. He says some of his clients plan to sue the district for $25,000 per child involved.
And the general consensus is they're very unhappy. They don't believe the board addressed 2 major issues. One, there was no mention made whatsoever of a child psychologist, and we felt that was one of the major issues. Secondly, the board is declining to transfer the principal who was involved with the strip search.
Dobbs says the next step for his clients is district court. Debbie Mash, Action 4.
Winterization is going to be a must this winter, according to forecasters. And the Community Action Program is planning on winterizing at least 50 homes a month for the elderly and low income. The state recently pumped in $2 million to help get the job done, since most federal money is being phased out. CAP officials say they are managing money better. However, the government is still cutting away at social programs.
Cut down, we've streamlined, we're managing better, and we're still doing our job. I took a $136,000 cut just in the meals program for the elderly. But we're still feeding 1,200 people a day. We haven't had to lay a lot of employees off. And what's in store for CAP, it's a long, hard fight because it's not one of their favorite programs.
If you think you may qualify for winterization money, now is a good time to find out by calling 232-7500. CAP officials say hurry because the message to them is clear from the state and the feds. Do what you can while the money is available. Ed Stewart, Action 4 in Southeast Oklahoma City.
Just a house they own. It was for rent. It was an empty house.
But his family owned it, or he owned it?
He owned it, yes.
Any idea on what prompted all of this, as far as the double slaying and suicide?
As far as we know, it was
Well, the options, of course, range from beginning to tighten down on personnel hiring, either not filling vacant positions as soon or not filling certain vacant positions, all the way through a full-scale hiring freeze.
In this dimly lit arena, some of the best riders and most expensive horses in America are warming up.
It's nearly time for them to compete in the World Championship Quarter Horse Show. Jackie Kershka is nervous. She's the owner, trainer, and rider of Sweet and Innocent. The Palomino mare is one of the favorites to win the Super Horse competition, one of the top awards in the quarter horse world. One of Jackie's biggest fans watches closely. That's her dad, Jack. He drove all the way here from New Mexico just to see her compete.
Give her hell, Jackie. We're going to go up there and get ready.
I've tried to give her advice when she wanted it all through her life.
You think she needs it now?
Nope, sure don't. She's as ready as she can get.
To be ready for this show, Jackie and her horse traveled a long, hard road together. You notice a special bond between the two. That's because Sweet and Innocent's mother died 4 weeks after foaling the little filly. That left Jackie playing the role of surrogate mother to a horse.
Just like a child, you have to reprimand them to some extent. But she's very intelligent, and the minute she knows that she's not supposed to do something, once she's been corrected for it, it doesn't take very much till she realizes, uh-oh, and she gets back to normal.
The discipline and hard work have paid off for Jackie and her horse. With a combination of skill, luck, and horse sense, Sweet and Innocent qualified in 6 world show classes. This week's Super Horse Championship is a goal Jackie's worked for all her life.
She's kind of like a buddy to me, a partner. She's definitely a partner. We work together. I work with her, but she works as well with me. She always gives me 100%.
Right now, that team from Yukon is tied for 3rd in the Super Horse standings. Jackie hopes a little luck tomorrow will improve that situation. Mark O'Neill, Action 4 at the State Fairgrounds.
That's a super-minded mare she's riding, and sure, there's a closeness there that they might not be with somebody with another horse, but it's not a closeness that she'll let the mare do.
The Oklahoma County Jail was first constructed in 1936. Since that time, the jail has seen only minor improvements. Improvements that will not accommodate Oklahoma County's growing prison population. This weekend, the county prison population did exceed its 530-bed limit. A heavy arraignment schedule today helped relieve the overcrowding problem, but county officials know the situation is not going to get any better. One plan under consideration is a work farm. Oklahoma County owns and operates a nursing home that isn't utilized as frequently as it used to be. Some county officials would like to see this facility turned into a minimum security holding center where county prisoners would be allowed to work for the state. Oklahoma County Commissioner Buck Buchanan is one official who would like to see the program get off the ground.
We would set up a work release with guards and so forth to go out and help clean up the rural areas of the county, to where we would take a group of trustees and as a band and put them out on the road.
A work farm here for nonviolent county offenders would only be a quick fix answer to the growing overcrowding problem. As Oklahoma continues to grow, so does the problem. But a new jail would be costly, an expense Oklahoma County says they don't need right now. So for now, this building may be the best alternative. At the Oklahoma County Nursing Home, Kurt Autry, Action 4.
Well, it was just people who, of course, were concerned with the accident as it occurred, and they had mentioned that if we felt like we needed to make some changes on the playground or improvements and such, that they would be willing to volunteer time, you know, and to help out.
Before our daughter was killed by a drunk driver, I did not realize that alcohol-related crashes are the #1 killer of our young people, our 14 to 24-year-olds. Like everyone else, I would see an occasional newspaper story about someone being killed in a traffic accident, but these statistics aren't put together for us so that we don't realize that 70 people every day are killed in drunk driving accidents.
It wasn't so long ago when Oklahoma City was surprised by a big winter storm. At that time, there was only one snowplow owned by the city to clear streets. Hundreds of people suddenly found themselves barricaded in their cars and homes. Eventually, officials had to call on the services of a private contractor to plow snow away. The city learned from that experience, and today officials are a lot more prepared. 11 snowplows have been purchased to handle what a storm may leave. Still, that equipment has to cover 640 square miles. Besides the plows, 19 trucks are ready to spread salt and sand on hazardous city streets. Tons of salt are already on hand just in case snow arrives early in Oklahoma City. Work crews are always concerned about what time of day it may snow.
Our main problem is, of course, is if the storm hits right in the evening rush or in the morning rush. It takes us a while to get our people in, especially if they're off duty. We're trying to get equipment around in the evening rush or in the morning rush with everything stacked up now. If storm hits in the middle of the night, midnight or so, then that gives us a few hours to get out and get a little bit of work done before the traffic gets so heavy that we can't get around.
As for winterizing city buildings, officials say they are ready for bad weather. However, plans are in the works to be even more energy efficient.
In fact, I'm working with a gentleman in the budget office, studies being made on that very thing at some of the downtown buildings. Looking at ways to save energy, and as I said, this will be part of our budget package this year, is looking at some new ways to keep from losing our heat and air.
The last few winters have been fairly mild, but many forecasters tend to think this winter will be one of the worst, thus guaranteeing street crews 24-hour workdays. Ed Stewart, Action 4.
What did you say?
Now this
if
one,
you're going
okay.
to be elegant, you
Right. Here. This one comes down across the middle, and this one goes back like that.
Many bridges in Oklahoma are barely safe for people to cross them, let alone huge cars and trucks. Many motorists have to slow down or pull over in order to make room for other cars. Many of Oklahoma's bridges are simply too narrow, like this bridge over the North Canadian River in Harrah. The proposed 5-cent tax hike on gasoline would pump an additional $80 million into the state's Highway Trust Fund. That's $80 million of a projected $150 million the state really needs in order to make a dent on its deteriorating roads. The extra federal money would also put people back to work, but officials at the Department of Transportation want a highway system that will work years down the road.
I think that the people who are going to finance it deserve something better than an immediate short-term gain. I think they deserve to have an improved highway system for the monies they contribute.
But Senator Don Nichols doesn't like the idea of the money coming from the federal government.
Well, I don't doubt that the roads and bridges are deteriorating, but I'm opposed to it for a couple of reasons. One, Oklahoma will come out on the short end of the stick. For every dollar we send to Washington, D.C. in the gasoline tax, we're probably going to get back about 67 cents. That's not a very good deal for Oklahoma. Two, I'm opposed to it because it takes away that right from the states and the municipalities, the cities, and the counties.
This bridge in Hera needs to be closed or rebuilt altogether, and all of that takes money. So, officials at the Department of Transportation think the program has good potential, but they don't want it to turn into a political program designed just to put people back to work. Bella Shaw, Action 4 in Hera, Oklahoma.
Can I borrow this? Huh? Listen to Grandma? Then you can listen to Grandma if you're real soft. See, if you're a nurse, you have to be real soft, okay? And you do just like this. You listen to her breathe.
I walk into these people's houses and I see
Sounds good.
courage like I've never seen before in my life, and I see love like
Check
love
again.
really is.
Okay. Okay, let's listen to you breathe. Elizabeth, this is how you do it. You listen to Grandma.